Welcome to the Absolute Value channel, where we're hoping that the value we give you is absolute. Today we'll be looking at the very first math ACT standard, which is N201. Perform one operation computation with whole numbers and decimals. Now, what does that mean? That means you just have to perform one operation. That is really not that hard. And this standard is actually it's designed for anyone with a score that's going to average from a 13 to a 15. Now, if you've got a 25, you already might know these standards and know these things that are recommended for this score. But every once in a while, something falls through the cracks. So it's good to be disciplined and to study all of the standards so that we know everything that we're looking for. Because I guarantee you, by the end of this, you might be looking at questions that are a little bit confusing. So stay tuned for the whole video. Let's look at this first question. A pack of gum costs $1.35. If Jason buys 4 packs, how much does he spend in total? So we're looking, when we're reading these types of word problems, I want you to underline all these numbers so that you don't accidentally lose one. But a pack of gum costs $1.35. Now, if we were to figure out how much it takes for 4 of those, well, we just have to multiply 135 times 4, which if you use your calculator, which you should be doing in this scenario on the ACT, so you can save time because you want to use all the time you can get on those harder problems, you should be getting $5.40 as your answer for how much Jason is spending on gum, which is honestly, it's a lot of gum to be buying 4 packs. Anyway, let's move on. A bottle of juice costs $3.60. If Emily pays with a $10 bill, how much change should she be receiving? This is a simple subtraction problem. Remember, this is just one computation with or one operation computations. This is as simple as it gets. So we've got $10 minus $3.60. What should we be left with once we do the math and the subtraction? You can definitely do this in your calculator. You're left with $6.40, leaving C to be your answer. A bakery sells loaves of bread for $4.85 each and muffins for $1.25 each. This is one of those tougher questions, so watch out. Yesterday, the bakery sold 18 loaves of bread and 32 muffins, earning a total of $151. If the bakery wants to find out the total cost of 5 loaves of bread, how much will that be? So all of these numbers being thrown around, you're looking for the total cost of 5 loaves of bread. So you need to know the cost of a loaf of bread, which is, think, $4.85. Now, what is the cost? How many loaves do we need to have? 5. So we have 485 times 5. What is 485 times 5? You should be typing that into your calculator to save time. You'll be left with $24.25. Oops, I forgot to write it down first. I highly recommend to not waste your time with this on the ACT by, what's 5 times 5? Well, that's 5, and then you got to bring up the 2, and then 8 times 5, and then add the 4, and just continually doing that. Instead, you should be typing that in your calculator so you can save your time. Let's move on. A smartphone plan costs $39.99 per month. If customers can choose from different colors of phone cases for $12.50 each. During a 4-month period, Thomas paid for service and bought 3 phone cases as gifts. If we only want the total cost of his phone service for the 4 months, how much did he pay? So we're looking for the total cost of phone service for 4 months. Does that include anything to do with phone cases? No, it doesn't. So honestly, this has nothing to do with the problem. These are distractors, as you might call them. Now, you're looking for 4 months. What is the cost over 4 months? Well, it is $39.99. For 1 month, we multiply that times 4. Again, you should be typing that into your calculator to save yourself some time. When you type that into your calculator, you get a whopping $159.96 for 4 months of service. Now, granted, I would say from a practical perspective, you can find service way cheaper than that somewhere else. So be smart, kids. Spend your money wisely. Our next problem, a cyclist travels 42.8 miles in a day. I'll say before we continue to refer, I read this and I was scratching my head for a second because I wasn't paying enough attention. She stops for lunch after 16.3 miles and then rides the rest of the way. Okay. If the water bottle she carries holds 0.75 liters and she drinks 4 bottles during the trip, how much does she ride after lunch? So what is the question asking here? I wasn't paying attention to what exactly it was asking. It's asking how much does she ride after lunch? Is there any information that we need on the amount of liters or the amount of bottles that she drank? No. I wasn't recognizing that when I first read this. And I was like, what does liters? Like, I was just confused. I was like, none of these have anything to do with each other. When in fact, the 4 bottles and the 0.75 liters, those are pieces of information that are designed to get you confused, to where you have no confidence in answering the problem, or to delay you so you're not able to answer even more questions and therefore dropping your score on the ACT even more. It is your job to be optimized for these types of problems on the ACT so that you can answer other questions that are tougher and you can actively do these questions faster. So this cyclist travels 4.28 miles in a day. She stops at for lunch after 16.3 miles, rides the rest of the way. So we're looking for 42.8, and we need to figure out what was done after 16.3 miles. Now when we subtract here, we left with 26.5. Honestly, that subtraction, I thought I could do that faster and I could type it in my calculator. So that's why I did that on hand right there. Now, things with decimal multiplication, I think that would take a little bit longer than anything else that you've done here. But I highly recommend that you look at this series of me going through all of the standards of the Math ACT. I want you to be familiar with all different types of problems, because it's one thing to just watch videos before you take the ACT, but the math portion of the ACT just comes down to how have you seen these problems and do you know the math? I guess you could say that opposite, but do you know the math and have you seen the problems? And that's all it comes down to. It comes down to a matter of fact of, have you put in the time to study, to do well? And so questions like these are great examples of putting in the time. I highly recommend that you do them over again, watch this video again, and do the questions, and then watch how I do them, and listen to the explanation. Do that for all these videos in this series. Thank you for watching. I really hope that I didn't waste your time, but in fact, you were encouraged by how easy the ACT can be with these types of problems. Thank you for listening.